Okay. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Right.
Good
So
evening.
my space is little crowded today, so that's why I'm doing the video. But that should be fine. That shouldn't be a problem. Okay. Fine. So we are here for actually your question paper discussion, right? We're going to do the first paper also, right? Second paper, I think also you wrote, right? So what do you want to do? You want to do second paper now, or you want to do the remaining of the first paper? What do you prefer now? Yes. Any suggestions?
Remaining of the first paper.
Remaining of the first paper. Okay. I think we can do that. Anybody else has anything to say, or shall we go on with
The
first?
remaining of first paper.
Okay, fine. So two people said, fine, we will do. Right. So I have to for okay, I think I have to download it again and put it in the OneNote. Okay, let's first let me share my screen. Okay, I think this is the thing, right? Okay, right. I think we solved till 18, question number 18, I guess. Right? Okay. This was done.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to the 19th question, right? So in this question, right? So they are telling that C6H5CH2Br, right? So directly you must be able to write the structure. C6H5CH2Br means CH2Br. Okay, is reacting with Mg bar ether. Right? Can someone tell me what will happen if I put Mg bar ether? Mg in the presence of ether, what will happen? What happens? Say if I have Rx reacting with Mg in the presence of ether, what is the product form? If I have Rx and Mg,
Grignard reagent.
RMgX would have been the product. Now what should have been the product then? Now tell me. I have the same thing only, right? This is my entire R, right? And this is my X reacting with Mg. So what will happen?
Option C.
Option C. Okay, C6H5, CH3. Okay. Right. Now look at this. Right. For example, if you would have had CH3, CH, Br, CH3. Okay. Now make sure that I'm going to react it with Mg in the presence of ether. Right. You know what will happen? You know how should I write the product? Obviously, it's right. It's easy to write RMGX. It's very simple to write this. Right. But an actual compound is given, you have to understand that whichever atom or say whichever carbon atom is possessing Br, that carbon atom will only possess MgBr or say MgX. Right? So if I write the structure properly, it would be CH3, MgBr, CH3. This is how we'll write. Okay. Now what do we have in our hand? I have this particular molecule we have in our hand. Right? Now that structure can I write like this. CH2. This is what is my R. MgX. That's it. MgBr. Done. Okay, right. Now, but none of the options are matching, right? If you look at the options, none of the options are matching. But what you have to understand is the moment you add H3O plus, right? The moment you add basically water, which contains a little amount of H plus, you will see that this MgBr will get converted to OH. That's it, right? This will get converted to, I will say this will get hydrolyzed to OH. Okay, first step is formation of MgBr not reagent, and the moment you add water to this, it is going to become hydroxide. That's it. Done. Right? So can I tell the answer to this question would be B. C6H5, CH2, OH. Right. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following is not chiral? Like we all know what is chiral, what is not chiral. How do you decide, people? How do you decide whether the particular carbon has chiral or not chiral? How do you do that? How do you do this? By looking at this compound, okay, sir, this doesn't have any chiral carbon. Okay, this has chiral carbon. How do you decide all that? I know you know it. Can anybody can say, right? How do you do it? Or really you don't know? At least that you can tell. Yes, sir, we don't know. I don't know. Yes, anybody knows or doesn't know?
Around the carbon atom, then it's chiral.
Sorry?
4 different groups are present around the carbon atom, it's chiral.
Exactly. Right. So a particular carbon atom, right? A particular carbon atom which is attached to 4 different groups, like say OH, Br, I, CH3. Right? So all 4 different groups that are to this carbon are different. So this will be able to rotate the plane polarized light. Okay, this will be able to rotate the plane polarized light. So I will be calling this particular carbon as a chiral carbon or say chiral center. Okay, so in this question, what they're asking is, right, which of the following is not chiral? Means one of them is not going to have a carbon, which is going to have 4 different groups. So for that, obviously, you have to draw these structures, then only you understand. Just by looking at the name, you will not be able to tell. Right? Fine. I'll give you maybe fine. You don't have to do it. I only do it. Right. But I have to rub certain things. I can write here.
So 3-bromopentane is the answer.
Okay, 3-bromopentane is the answer. Okay, we'll directly check for that. Okay, 3-bromopentane. Let me write the structure. Okay, wait, I have no space. Right here. Okay, now look at this, right? If I consider this particular carbon, right? This carbon is containing hydrogen, bromine, and this is C2H5, ethyl group, and you see that there is another C2H5 group. So this is not chiral. Okay, this is not chiral because it is not attached to four different groups. Right, this is attaching to the two same group, mean two of the same group, right? So it is going to become achiral, and say or not, it is not chiral, we call it. Okay, right. So I think other options will definitely have a chiral center for sure, right? So the answer to this question would be C. Okay, it should have been D, I guess. I think there's a printing mistake here. C or D. The answer is 3-bromopentane. That's what I have to know. Okay, right. Now, next one, carbon tetrachloride has a dipole moment. Now, please understand, whenever I have a regular structure, right? Whenever I have, I would say, a symmetric structure, right? Whenever there is symmetry, okay? Now, carbon tetrachloride is CCl4, right? Now, if I write the structure of CCl4 or any, say, I know this molecule is tetrahedral, right? Any compound having sp3 hybridized carbon, right? Any compound, I would say most of the compounds, I would say, right? Most of the compounds having sp3 hybridized carbon, right, will always be tetrahedral. Okay, if you find that there is a carbon atom which is sp3 hybridized, definitely on that particular area, I'm going to have tetrahedral shape or geometry, right? So we all know how tetrahedral shape looks, right? Say one chlorine here, another chlorine here in the same plane, right? When I put it normal lines, that means they are in the same plane, right? Now I know that there will be a wedge, Cl, another wedge. Okay, now this is my tetrahedral structure. I know this wedge represents that the bond is coming. Say if I speak with respect to me, it is coming towards me. If you talk with respect to you, it is coming towards you, right? And this dotted line is representing that it is going away from me, or say it is going away from you, right? So anyways, these two bonds are not the same line. This is how we represent, right? This is how we generally do it. Okay, and what they're asking carbon tetrachloride is having, okay, dipole moment. Now the dipole moment I know is a vector quantity. Okay, dipole moment is a vector quantity, right? And that means it is going to have both magnitude as well as direction, right? Now it is represented by the meter mu, right? Mu is equal to Q into D. Q is charge, D is distance, right? This is not important, but just I'm giving the formula. This is the magnitude, right? And the direction. And I know a vector quantity has both magnitude as well as direction, right? So the direction is along the more electronegative atom, right? This is the direction. This is how you remember the direction. Okay, dipole moment is along the more electronegative atom, right? So obviously in this case it is going to be towards the chlorine atoms, right? Now please understand, for each of the polar bond, sorry, so yeah, so for each of the polar bond, now I see that I have 4 CCl bonds, right? All of these are polar bonds. I think we have already discussed what do you mean by polar and non-polar, right? Whenever you see that del positive and del negative are there in a bond, because I have a difference in electronegativity, right? This kind of charge separation is what is called as being polar, right? So you understand that this what is that? CCl bond is polar, and definitely I'm going to have del plus on carbon and del minus on all these chlorines, because obviously chlorine is more electronegative. Okay, del plus on carbon and del minus on all the chlorine atoms, right? Okay, now I told you that the dipole moment dm, right, is that its direction is along the more electronegative atom. So for this bond, it will be towards this chlorine, it will be towards this chlorine, it will be towards this chlorine, and it will be towards this chlorine. Okay, right. And obviously all of them are going to be in equal magnitude because everything is my CCl bond only. There is no difference here, right? Or say if I call this as mu1, all the other three are mu1 only. Okay, right, fine. Now we have to understand, okay, this is how the directions are. And the magnitude is not important, but you have to look at the total sum of this, right? These are individual vectors. There is something called as resultant vector, right? You must have definitely studied all this in your 11th class, or vectors. Now you still also use it. Okay, there's something called as a resultant vector, and that you will eventually see that it is going to be 0. Why? Because in some way, if you take the resultant, right, if you take the if you do the rectangular law, parallelogram law of vector addition, right, you will find that eventually everything will cancel out, so it is going to become 0. Okay, right. So the answer to this question is A. Carbon tetrachloride has a dipole moment of 0. Right. Okay, next. Which of the following is a halogen exchange reaction? Right now, you see option A. Option A is Rx plus Ni in the process gives Ri plus NaX. What reaction is this? This is a name reaction, right? What is the name of this reaction?
Finkelstein.
Ah, right. This is my Finkelstein reaction. So definitely I know it is halogen exchange. So is definitely A the answer. Okay. Now here next option B you see, right? Option B is ROH in the presence of HX gives Rx plus H2O. Now this is not halogen exchange, it is just a nucleophilic substitution. What is happening in the nucleophilic substitution? H2O. I should not say OH. I should say H2O is replaced with X. That's the nucleophilic substitution happening. Okay, I'm not saying OH is getting replaced by H because there's a reason. Why? Because OH is a better nucleophile than X minus. Right? It will not be able to do this trick, but in the mechanism, something else happens. Okay, so that the H2O leaves and the X can be attached to the carbon. This is how the nucleophilic reaction happens. Okay, anyways, this is not halogen exchange, right? And option C, you check, I have a C double bond C and I have this HX, right? And getting added to this double bond. Can someone tell me the name? This is not a name reaction, but what is the type of this? What do you say?
Marconi.
No. What is the type of reaction you call for this? Say here we call it as a nucleophilic substitution. Here also it is nucleophilic substitution. Okay, yeah, go on.
Sir, halogen exchange, sir.
In this case, it is halogen exchange. Halogen exchange, what do you mean by halogen exchange? One halogen is replaced by another halogen.
This is eliminations. I thought for A you were saying, sir. For C, elimination.
No, I'm asking about C. Is it
elimination?
elimination?
Sir? Yes, sir. Hydrogen.
Dealkynation, sir.
This is simply addition reaction, right? Right, I have a C double bond C. Now across this double bond, I add this HX and this is what is the product, right? If you ask me more specifically, this is an example for electrophilic addition reaction, not substitution, electrophilic addition reaction. Okay, this is an example for electrophilic addition. If the same addition reaction happens in games of C double bond O, there it is also addition, but there it has been called nucleophilic addition reaction. And we'll see when we see your aldehydes, ketones, carboxylic acid chapter. Okay, C double bond O will undergo nucleophilic addition, whereas C double bond C will undergo electrophilic addition. There are reasons to this, but some other day we'll discuss. Okay, right. Now here it is going to be addition reaction, normal electrophilic addition. This is not a halogen exchange, right? And then if you look at option D, now what kind of reaction is option D? Can someone tell me? What is exactly
This is just
happening? I have,
halogenation, no, sir.
sorry,
This is just halogenation, right? So
will you, okay, halogenation, I understand. Yes, it's not the answer, right?
Substitution,
But
sir.
what substitution?
Nucleophilic.
See what do I have in hand? Okay, well, I have toluene, right? This is benzene ring with CH3.
Electrophilic, sir.
Right. Remember, guys, whenever I have a benzene substituent, right, saying that will undergo nucleophilic substitution is really not good. Like in the sense that we know that benzene and its derivative will not undergo, I would say it's very tough for them to undergo nucleophilic substitution, but it's very easily undergo electrophilic substitution. Right. And I think you have the numerous reasons. You should basically tell resonance as the reason. Okay, right. Basically, it will undergo electrophilic positive charge. Some E plus, right? Some E plus replaces the H plus from the benzene, right? So, here I would have had a H, right? Now that is replaced by X. That's what is happening. Okay, that is replaced by X. Here in this case, the electrophile is X plus. And we're not worried about it. I'm just telling you. All I'm trying to tell you is this is an electrophilic substitution reaction. Again, so that is not going to be the answer. Okay, the correct answer is halogen exchanges state. Finkel state. Right. Moving on. The primary alkyl halide in the presence of aqueous NaOH would prefer to undergo. Now we know for SN2, the order of reactivity is primary, secondary, tertiary, and for SN1 we know it is tertiary, secondary, primary. Right? This is what we have in hand for order of reactivity. Now you see, you're talking about a primary alkyl halide. Right? Primary alkyl halide in the presence of aqueous NaOH would definitely prefer to undergo. Primary means it is more reactive towards SN2. Right? It is more reactive towards SN2. So I can directly finish the answer saying right, it is the answer is A. I hope everybody is following how the answer is A here. Right? It's a primary alkyl halide. I know this is Rx in the presence of OH minus, that is NaOH, will form ROH, nucleophilic substitution. Right? Now, when I have nucleophilic substitution, I know there can be two possible mechanisms. One is SN1, the other one is SN2. Right? Now, how do you decide which that compound will take the SN1 or SN2 only? You will look at whether it's primary, secondary, or tertiary. Now we know this is the order of reactivities for SN1 and SN2. Now they are telling it's a primary alkyl halide, so I have a primary here. That is, the primary is more reactive towards SN2. Now you see in SN1 it is least reactive. So definitely, since it is primary, it is definitely have more chance to follow SN2 only. Okay, moving on. Moving on to 24th question. Right, the reaction of toluene with chlorine in the presence of iron and in the absence of light yields what? Right, now this reaction only we saw in D here. Where is it? Yeah, this exact same reaction, that is what we are going to see here. Okay, right. So what I have toluene, one with CH3, right? Now, when you go for X2, right, in general, they're asking about chlorine here. So Cl2 in the presence of iron, right, and dark, obviously, it is not sunlight. When I have sunlight, that is a different reaction. When I have sunlight and Cl2, what is the name of the reaction? How do you call the reaction? If I have, instead of this darkness, if I use light and chlorine, what will happen?
chlorination, sir.
Okay, what exactly?
Chlorine will undergo Markovnikov.
Markovnikov only for addition reaction, right? Free radical what? Say for example,
Free
if I
radical
have
substitution,
CL4, CL2 in the presence of light, H nu is light.
Halogenation, sir.
Okay, okay, first of all, what will be the product here?
CH3Cl.
CH3Cl2.
CH3Cl, right? What reaction is this? Someone told chlorination. Can we just call it chlorination or something else we can add to this?
Free radical.
Free radical chlorination or free radical reaction or free radical substitution, we can call it. Okay, the free radical substitution that will happen in the presence of light, right? But when you do it in the dark, okay, now here we know whenever you have benzene, it is definitely now here I know it is free radical substitution. Here it is definitely going to be electrophilic substitution. Okay, so now I know this methyl group is ortho para directing. That is also very important, right? So in either an ortho position, this position, or in this position, I have to put a chlorine. That's what you mean by this. Okay, so basically Cl plus replaces H plus at two possible positions. One is ortho, the other one is para, right? So we look at the option now, right? So I will be getting a mixture of ortho, no, right? Okay, I think it's a mixture of this one. This is the product. This is the option A, right? So a mixture of this and this is my ortho. This is my para. So this A is the correct answer to this question, right? Now this would have been the answer if this happened in the presence of light. So now this is my free radical substitution. Just like what? See, C6H5CH3. Now this is an sp3 hybridized carbon, right? Now that would have lost hydrogen to form chlorine if the items of reaction in the presence of light. Okay, same way, this is also this reaction will continue if I do it in the presence of light. Same for this, right? The only thing which happens in the dark is my electrophilic substitution. That would be A. Okay, I hope everybody understands. All B, C, and D comes from free radical substitution. Okay, right. Moving on, racemization occurs in, I think this is a very easy question. We all know it is going to be happening in SN1 reaction. Why racemization happens, all these things you should know, you should be knowing. Okay, right. Moving on. Section B. Which of the following statement is not true about hexagonal close packing? Right. Now, hexagonal close packing, the coordination number is 12. Yet it is correct. Right. And then in this arrangement, the spheres of the fourth layer are exactly aligned with those of the first layer. Okay, we'll see what is this. Okay, fine. It has 74% packing efficiency. Yes, that is true. Right. Hexagonal close packing is nothing but FCC. Okay, right. So definitely it has 74% this thing, right? Tetrahedral voids of the second layer are covered by the spheres of the third layer. Tetrahedral voids of the second layer are covered by the spheres of the third layer. I think it's correct, right? Tetrahedral voids of the second layer is correct, is covered by the spheres of the third layer, right? You can study the textbook, just see how this HCP is getting formed. We'll try to easily understand how is this, right? So this is also correct, right? So which is not true. This is the only statement which is not true, I guess, right? Other things are fine. Moving on, the next question. The unit cell of a substance has cations A plus at the corners of the unit cell. This kind of questions we have solved already, right? If it is the corners, if it is at the center, if it is at the octahedral void, tetrahedral void, we know how should we do it. How should we do it, right? Anyways, we'll do this, right? So cations A plus are there at the corners of the unit cell, right? And the anions B minus are at the center of the unit cell, right? A's are at the corners and B is at the center of the unit cell, right? Now we know if I have corners, right? If I have corners, the contribution of that particular point, corner lattice point, is 1/8, right? And I know I will have 8 corners such that, 8 corners will be like will be there like that, right? So at least 1A plus, can I say, right? Because A plus is there at the corners of the unit cell, right? And I know the contribution of one corner point is 1/8, and I have 8 such corners. So definitely I have 1A plus, right? And when I go to the center, basically what are they asking about? They're talking about body center, the center of the unit cell, right? They're talking about the body center, and I know the body center contribution is entirely 1 because that particular point is not shared among any unit cell. Okay, that particular point belongs to that particular unit cell only, right? The total contribution becomes 1, right? So I can tell that I'm going to have 1b minus, right? So I think now you can easily guess the formula. A plus, B minus, A, B. 1A plus, 1B minus will become AB. So the correct answer will be C. Right. Okay. Moving on to the next question. The correct statement regarding defects, right? The correct statement regarding defects in crystalline solids is, right? Frenkel defects decrease the density of crystalline solids. There's a spelling mistake again, right? Okay. So, okay, is this statement correct, people? Does Frenkel defect decrease the density of crystalline solids?
No, sir.
No,
Okay.
sir, it
What does
doesn't
it
do
do?
it.
What does it do then? And what does it do the density, Frenkel defect?
Sir, it does not affect the density, sir.
Sir, it is
Correct.
But the electrons electrons will go fill the space, so it doesn't get affected.
Exactly. Right. So Frenkel defect has nothing to do with the density. Okay. Right. Okay, fine. Is Frenkel defect a dislocation defect? Fine. You think about this. Okay. Next. Frenkel defect is found in halides of alkaline metals. Alkaline metals are what? What are alkaline metals, people? What are alkaline metals? See, really, you're thinking about alkaline metals? Alkaline metals, alkaline earth metals.
Base.
Yeah, go on.
Sodium, potassium, calcium.
Correct. Lithium, sodium, potassium, right? No, potassium is K, sorry. Right? Say all of them are only going to be called as alkaline metals, right? So they're telling it is found in halides of alkaline metals, means like say NaCl, KCl. Do they give Frenkel defect? Are they examples for having Frenkel defect?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, this is correct. Okay, these are examples for Frenkel defect. Okay, so C is the correct answer. Okay, Schottky defect has no density on the crystalline solids. No, we know that it is going to decrease the density. Is it not? Schottky defect will be having decrease in density. So this option is obviously not right. Wrong statement. Wrong statement, right? So Frenkel defect is not a dislocation defect. I think it is a stoichiometric defect, right? Okay, it is a stoichiometric defect. Okay, fine. So that's about question number 28. Option C is the correct answer. Right. Next, 29. Right. A metallic crystal crystallizes into the lattice. Right. A metallic crystal crystallizes into a lattice containing sequence of layers AB, AB, AB. Okay. Any packing of spheres leaves outside the voids in the lattice. What? Metal crystallizes into a lattice containing sequence of layers like this. Okay. Any packing of spheres leaves out voids in the lattice. What percentage of volume of this lattice is empty space? I really don't understand this question. Okay. What do they want? Okay, have they given you the answer?
Sir, AB will be FCC, sir. So we take FCC's the amount of space occupied in FCC, sir. So 100
like
minus
that.
that will give us volume that's
Okay.
empty,
So
right, sir?
I think this statement is a waste statement. Right? This is a very waste statement. That is why it is confusing. So yeah, if it all correct, FCC, I mean AB is FCC. That is true. Right. Now, if we just forget this particular statement and study this, what percentage of volume of this land is empty? Basically, they're asking about percentage, packing efficiency. Right, they're talking about packing efficiency. Right, what percentage of volume of this is empty space? No, right? They are not talking about packing efficiency. They're asking about how much percentage of volume of this is empty space. That means, right? That means they're asking about void fraction, right? Or say void percentage. It's very simple, right? Void percentage, right, is equal to packing efficiency. All right, in other words, I would say 100 minus packing efficiency. Obviously, how much ever is the packing efficiency? If you totally 100%, so some packing efficiency will be there. Obviously, rest would be empty space, right? So we know the packing efficiency for FCC is 74%, right? This is for an FCC. So definitely void percentage. That's what they're asking. What percentage by volume is empty space? So definitely that would be 26% of this entire volume would be empty space, right? So if you are marked 74, right, the answer is wrong. They're asking about how much of it is empty space. That is 100 minus packing efficiency. That is 26%. Okay, right. Next one, brass. Yeah,
Previous
go on.
question. Sir, actually, Frankel's defect is a dislocation defect, right? So isn't that
Fran-
the answer?
Frankel defect is a dislocation defect. Frankel, I think, is Frankel defect found in AGCL? Guys, I think Skotsky defect is shown by NaCl and KCl, and this AGCL.
The AGCL shows both Schottky and Frankel defects.
Correct. AGCL shows both Skotsky and Frankel, I think, but NaCl shows
So
metal
AGBR
excess.
shows
Yeah,
both. sir.
AGBR only shows
AGBR,
both,
sir.
sir.
Silver bromide.
AGBR shows what?
Sir, AGBR
Frankel
only
and
shows
Cho.
both Frankel and Schottky, sir.
Okay, AGCL then?
The AGCL doesn't show, sir.
Only Frankel, sir.
AGCL shows only Frankel. Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
obviously NaCl and KCl doesn't show Frankel, correct? Okay, NaCl, I think NaCl I know will give me metal excess defects, right? Metal excess defect it will give me, right? But I'm not sure about whether it will give me Frankel defect. Right. Anyways, let me clarify this. Okay. I'll clarify this question soon. Fine. Moving on to this question, 30th question. Brass is an example for what? Covalent crystal, molecular crystal, ionic crystal, or metallic crystal? I think it's very easy. What will be the answer? What will be the answer, people? Brass is an example for. Brass is actually what? Brass is an alloy, right? Okay. Obviously, what is an alloy? Alloy is a mixture of metals. Right? Alloy is how an alloy is formed by mixing copper, aluminum, tin. All these things are mixed together to form brass. Right?
Metallic.
Definitely, the answer is going to be metallic crystal. Right. See, even though you don't know the exact answer, but if you know what exactly is this, right, then you can at least guess, okay, it should be metallic crystal only because it is an alloy which is made from metals. Right. Okay, moving on to the next question. Right. A compound forms hexagonal close packing HCl. Right. What is the total number of voids in 0.5 mole of it? Okay. Right. Now you see that I know HCP. HCP is nothing but FCC. Okay. HCP is nothing but FCC. Right. I know the packing efficiency is 74%. Right. Packing efficiency is 74%. But again, you see they're talking about total number of voids. Right. So now, whatever is the amount of space we have, right? If I have say 100 to 100% volume, 74% volume is not empty, right? 24% of the total volume is empty. Is that what we understand, right? Okay. When I say 74% packing efficiency, but I can say that, sorry, 26%. Okay. 26% of total volume is empty. That means voids. 20 to 26% total volume is empty. We can, instead of saying empty, we can say it is voids. Okay. Right. Now, how do we calculate number for this? Now, please understand they're asking about mole. Okay, they're asking about mole, right? So, can I say in 1 mole, right? In 1 mole, I will have 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 unit cells, right? In case 1 mole of unit cells, if I have, okay, 1 mole of unit cell, right? I will have this many number, this many number of unit cells. Okay. Now I know that in this total, right? In this total, 26% of these are voids. Can I say that? Right. Whatever is the total value, this in 1 mole, I know I can have totally this much volume available for me. Okay. Now in that, of this, 26% will be covered with voids. Okay, so 26% means what? 26 by 100 into 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 is the number of voids I'll have in 1 mole. Because 26% of this is only voids, right? But look at, but the question is not for 1 mole. They're asking for 0.5 mole. That means half of it, right? So now this is the number of voids in 1 mole, right? So if I want to know for half a mole, it should be what? It should be 26 divided by 100 into 2. That is, I'm basically dividing by 2. So that I'll getting for half a mole, right? So into 2 into 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 would have been the answer to this question. Okay. So if I have to do it, maybe it will be 13 times, right? Now 13 into 6 approximately would be 26, 52. 52 plus 26 is 78. 78 divided by 100 into 10 to the power 23, right? So this, if this goes up, this will become 10 to the power 21. So it will be 78 into 10 to the power 21, something like that, right? So if I go to the answer, 78 is what we got, right? So definitely the 78 is close to 8, right? So I can tell the answer is C, because we took 6, we approximated there, right? So we'll choose the closest answer what we got. 7.8 we got, but here I have 8, so okay. Or 78 I got 80. We only the 10 powers will be different. Don't worry about it. Okay, right. So I think everybody got this. Very simple, right? 26% of the total is void. In 1 mole I have Avogadro number. I can calculate very easily. Okay, right. Moving on. Next, iron exhibits BCC structure at room temperature, body centered cubic, right? About 900 degrees Celsius, it transforms to FCC. Okay, fine. The ratio of density of iron at room temperature to that of 900 degrees Celsius is what? Okay, they're asking you density at BCC when this thing is at BCC, right? That is at room temperature. At room temperature it is BCC, right? Okay, iron exhibits BCC at room temperature. Iron at room temperature is at BCC. And to that of at 900 means what? To that when I have FCC, density when I have FCC, right? Now we know I have a direct formula, right? D is equal to, can someone tell me the formula? What is the formula? D is equal to? What is the formula? Density is equal to?
Mass by volume.
In solid state chapter, you have a equation, right, for density calculation. Nobody remembers this?
Molar mass.
ZM divided by Na into A cube. Does anybody remember this formula? Yes? No?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. This formula is a very famous formula. You should not forget it. Okay. Just a moment, people. Okay. Right. So we know this formula exists. Okay. Now you see that M is molecular mass. Okay. M is molecular mass. So whether it is at 100 degrees Celsius or 200 degrees Celsius, whatever be the temperature, molecular mass will remain same only. Correct? Right? Same way, this is my Avogadro number. This is your 6.023 into 10 to the power 23. Avogadro number. Right? Again, whatever be the temperature, whatever be FCC or the BCC, this value again will be constant. Right? And this A, right? This A would have been with respect to radius. This, say for example, would have been with respect to BCC, will have one value. It will, with respect to FCC, will have another value. Correct? Right. So we know the relationship. If it is going to be for FCC, I know R is equal to A by 2 root 2. Okay. R is equal to A by 2 root 2. And if it is for BCC, I know R is equal to A and root 3 by 4 into A. Okay, but will this be same? R will be same, the radius will be same, the edge length will be. I think the edge length also is not going to change, I guess, right? BCC will have 1 plus 1, 2. Okay, I think this is gonna be fine. Right, A, the edge length, see that, please understand this. Okay, look at this. When I have a cube, right, we are talking about this length A, right? This is the edge length, right? Say whether I have a body centered cubic or a face centered cubic, this length is not going to change, correct? Only the lattice points will change. I hope all of you are agreeing with me, right? Say if this is my unit cell, right? This is the edge length A we are talking about, right? So I want to understand whether it is FCC or BCC or simple cubic, right? As long as the basically now all the other things, the lattice points are changing. Say in simple cubic only the corner points are occupied. In BCC corner points and the body center. In FCC corner points and the face centers. The lattice points may keep on changing, right? But that does not alter this particular length A, right? So we don't even have to look into any of this. Okay, so A is also constant irrespective of whether I'm going to have FCC or BCC. So the only thing which will be changing is the Z. What is the Z? Z is the number of atoms per unit cell. And we already know the values for number of atoms per unit cell for BCC and FCC. Correct? Right? So I know for BCC, it is 2. I know, I hope you all know how I got 1 by 8 into 8 is 1. And entirely the body center will have the contribution of 1. So it will be 2. Right? FCC will have a total number of atoms per unit cell to be 4. Correct? Right? Now, say if I take this and substitute this Zm by Na A cube, Zm by Na cube, M would have gotten cancelled because with the same for FCC and BCC, Avogadro number and my A cube also would have gotten cancelled because all of them are same for FCC and BCC. The only difference is my Z, that is my number of atoms per unit cell. Now you see the values here, the number of atoms per unit cell for BCC is 2, right? And that of number of atoms for FCC is 4. So D of density of BCC divided by density of FCC will be 1 by 2. I'm sorry. Right, it will be 1 by 2. So that would be definitely option D. Right, I hope everybody is following, everybody is easily understanding. Okay, right, next, Schottky effect. right? Schottky effect is observed when in crystals when some lattice points are occupied by electrons, equal number of cations and anions are missing from lattice, some impurities present in the lattice, some cations move from their lattice to the interstitial state, which is correct. People. Quickly go through your textbook. At least for this, you can go through the textbook and tell me what exactly is correct. Yes? What happens in Schottky effect? Okay, fine. You will answer yeah, go on.
Equal
Sorry,
number
sorry.
of option B.
Option B. Okay, fine. Anybody else supports her, or anybody says so? No, this is not the answer.
So it's B only, sir.
Okay, good.
So B, sir.
Yes, correct. Right. So that is what is Schottky effect. One cation will be lost. To maintain the charge balance, one anion also goes. Okay, so again it will be overall neutral. That's what happens in Schottky effect. Okay, right. Moving on to 34th question. Which of the following is least reactive towards nucleophilic substitution? They did not tell me SN1 or SN2. That means both are taken into the picture. Either SN1 or SN2, doesn't matter. Okay, they have just mentioned nucleophilic substitution. They didn't mention SN1 or SN2, so you also don't mention anything. Okay, you just have to consider generally nucleophilic substitution. Right now, if you look at option A, definitely undergo SN1 because it is tertiary. Right now, if you look at option C, definitely undergo SN2 because it is primary. Right, an allylic group will also undergo SN1 because you will see that it is going to form a stable carbocation. Allyl carbocation. If I can show you, this would have been the carbocation. Okay, CH2 plus, and you will see that this carbocation is stabilized by resonance. Okay, this carbocation is stabilized by resonance. So definitely this is a very good, highly stable carbocation, allyl carbocation. So definitely this also will undergo SN1. Right? So but this one B will not undergo any nucleophilic substitution. Neither SN2 nor SN1. Nothing, because it obviously SN1 because it will not form a carbocation and all, right? And generally vinylic compounds will find it very. This is a vinyl halide, vinylic halide, right? Whenever I have a carbon which is having a double bond and a chlorine atom, right, is what is called as vinylic halide, right? So vinylic halides will not undergo SN1, not undergo SN2. So that means they will not undergo nucleophilic substitution reaction at all. Okay, right. Moving on to the next question, 35, right? Grignard reagent is prepared by the reaction between magnesium and alkane. No, right? We all know it is Rx plus Mg, right? That is basically my alkyl halide plus magnesium. Is it not? Right? Okay. So magnesium and aromatic hydrocarbon. No, it is not hydrocarbon. Zinc and alkyl halide. No, it is not zinc. It is Mg. Right? Now you look at option D. Obviously, that is the correct answer. Magnesium and alkyl halide. Rx and Mg. Right? Moving on to the 36th question. How many questions are there totally? 55 questions. Okay, so going to the 36th question, right? Which of the following compounds will give racemic mixture on nucleophilic substitution? I know racemic mixture will be formed in SN1 mechanism. See, this is how the question will be asked. Okay, they will not sometimes directly tell you S1, SN1 or SN2 like this. They will give you so that you will know. If they have told inversion of configuration, then I would have mentioned that it is going to be SN2 mechanism because I know SN2 mechanism inversion happens. Okay, in SN1 mechanism, I know racemization happens, right? So out of them, whichever is tertiary, right, will be the answer. Okay, fine. So I know definitely B is tertiary because you can see this is a tertiary carbon and this is secondary. Secondary can also undergo SN1. Okay, but primary, so you can see this is primary. Okay, this primary will generally not undergo SN1 mechanism. SN2 they will undergo. Right, so I would say A and B alone, you check any option are there. A and B alone is not there. A and B alone is not there. Only B is there. Okay, fine for me because that is only tertiary. Okay, only B because it is going to give me SN1 because it is tertiary and it is going to follow racemic mixture. Right, now moving on to the next question. Right. The position of Br in the compound can be classified as what? Now we'll decode the structure properly. CH3, CH, double bond, CH, C, Br, CH3, CH3. This is what you have. This carbon is having 2 CH3s and 1 Br. Okay, this carbon is having 2 CH3s and 1 Br. Okay, now look at this. This alone you look. Whenever you have a C double bond C and a single bond C and a X, I know these are what are called as allylic halides. We even saw in a question allylic halyl hydrocarbon. Sorry, allyl carbocation we saw. Right? This is an example for allylic halide. Okay, right? And this is definitely going to be tertiary. Okay, this is going to be tertiary allyl halide, allyl bromide to be exact. Okay, so I don't have tertiary, I have only allyl. So the correct answer to be would be allyl. Option B is the correct answer. Okay, next, ethyl benzene cannot be prepared by what? Cannot be prepared by which of the following reactions? Right. Now, ethyl benzene is this. Okay. Ethyl benzene group. Right? Ethyl benzene. Very simple. Okay. Now, by Clemenson's reduction, see, Clemenson reduction, you don't know yet. Okay. Basically, Clemenson reduction you study in the next chapter, which shouldn't have come in this chapter. Okay. It is coming from aldehydes, ketones, carboxylic acids. So Clemenson reduction is basically when you have a C double bond O, right? And when you put it in zinc amalgam and HCl, you will be converting it into CH2. For example, if you would have had, say, C double bond O CH3, if you had this compound, okay, benzophenone, sorry, acetophenone. Okay, now the same thing we'll put zinc amalgam in the presence of HCl. Now this C double bond O, right, will get converted to CH2. That's exactly what I did here. C double bond O to CH2. C double bond O to CH2. Okay, this is a reduction, Clemenson's reduction. Okay, so what you understand is for now that yeah, ethyl benzene can be prepared by Clemenson's reduction. Okay. Now, how about Wood's reaction? Not Wood's reaction, Wood's Fittig reaction. Now, I know Wood's Fittig reaction goes like this. Rx plus aryl X in the presence of sodium gives me aryl R. So, for example, I can do this. I have benzene. Sorry. Then say I would have had CH3 CH2X, right? Now what will happen? This X and this X will be gone. So I have to attach this two carbons. So you will find that I can have CH2, CH3, right? So you can see CH2 will be attached to this and this directly will go to this one and this will be gone. Okay. So through Wood's Fittig, I know this is what is Wood's Fittig. Wood's Fittig. Okay, right? This is what is Wood's Fittig, and this is exactly what have been the product. Yes, that means so through Wood's Fittig also I will be able to form ethyl benzene. Okay, now how about Friedel-Crafts reaction? Friedel-Crafts reaction, yes, we can do it, right? Friedel-Crafts I have benzene ring, right? Say I went for CH3COCl in the presence of AlCl3, right? Now I know this is what is called as my Friedel-Crafts acylation reaction, right? This is what is my Friedel. Oh, but I'm sorry, not this one. CH3COCl. It is CH3CH2Cl. I'm sorry. Okay, Rx. Basically, this is like Rx or say RCl in the presence of AlCl3. I know I'm going to have electrophilic substitution of R plus. Okay, R in this case is going to be CH3CH2. So you will see that I could have had CH2CH3 here because that would have been the R. Okay, this is not acylation. I'm sorry. This is Friedel-Crafts alkylation. Okay, this is my Friedel-Crafts alkylation. Right. So again, through this also it is possible. So definitely the answer is going to be Wood's reaction. Right. Now, because you understand that if I have to write the formula of this thing, right, it would have been C6H5 C2H5. No, basically fine. Look at the formula and all. Now we know in Wood's reaction it is working only for alkyl groups, not aryl groups. Basically 2 moles of Rx will give me RR, right? And this R is not a benzene ring. It is only going to be straight chain compounds, right? If it is benzene ring, if it is C6H5, I know what is the name of the reaction, right? The name of the reaction is, can someone tell me? If I write 2 aryl X gives me aryl, what is the name of the reaction here? 2 aryl X giving me aryl. What is the name of the reaction?
Fitting reaction, sir.
It is called Fittig reaction. Okay, so definitely through its reaction, I will not be able to prepare ethyl benzene. So yeah, D is the correct answer to this question. Okay, fine. Next, arrange the following in the order of increasing nucleophilicity. Okay, now please understand the nucleophilicity order would be Br minus, Cl minus, and I minus. Br minus would be the highest. Oh, sorry. It would be, yes, I minus would be the highest, and then Cl minus, and then Br minus. This is how it is. Okay. How? Maybe I'll explain you in some other time. How is this like this? For now, you can easily know. And the order of nucleophilicity is F minus is the least, then Cl minus, then Br minus, and then the maximum is I minus. This is the order of nucleophilicity all the time. Okay. Now we don't have time to explain why is it like this, but I will explain you someday for sure. Don't worry about it. Okay, fine. Moving on. Which of the following alcohols will yield the corresponding alkyl chloride on reaction with HCl? Okay, right. Now you see that you must have known the mechanism again. Right. See, what you have to understand is, right, when I have this ROH, okay, now if I put my HCl, so first H plus comes, and this H plus is taken up by this, and it is going to form OH2 plus. Okay, now this OH2 plus, from this ROH2 plus, water molecule leaves to form R plus plus H2O, and to this R plus, the X minus will come and attack this to form Rx. Okay, this is how the whole reaction happens. Okay, very shortly I told you, right? ROH first will accept the H plus to form ROH2 plus, right? Then water molecule leaves minus H2O, right? So if this leaves, obviously what is remaining is my carbocation. This is all I want you to know, right? All I want to form is carbocation, and to this carbocation, X minus attacks to form Rx. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is which of the corresponding alkyl halides will give HCl at room temperature is, now you can see that whichever can form the maximum has stabilized carbocation, that is my R plus, that will be the case. And I know the stability of carbocation order is tertiary greater than secondary greater than primary. Same thing you would have seen here SN1 also. Okay, so can I blindly say that the correct answer is B? right? Because this is only tertiary alcohol, right? So tertiary carbocation will be formed, and that is what is needed for this mechanism. Okay, so option B is the correct answer because it is tertiary, right? Moving on. Which reagent will you use for the following reaction? Right, I want to convert CH2 this four number carbon to CH2 Cl plus this basically chlorine atom here and chlorine atom here. Now see, this is a normal unsaturated carbon, right? And in the compounds, you see that one of the hydrogens is replaced by chlorine. Again, in this case also, one of the hydrogens are replaced by chlorine, right? So what should be done? Tell me quickly, tell me what is the answer to this question? Alkane, normal hydrogen removed, and that hydrogen is replaced by chlorine. That will happen. We just now saw in the previous question. What is the answer? Quickly tell me. A, B, C, D, which is the answer? Go on. Hello. See, it's simple, right? CH4 in the chlorine in the presence of light, what will happen? You only told me it is CH3Cl. Right, that's it, right? The same thing is only happening here. I have 4 carbon atoms. Again, I have 4 carbon atoms. Last I had CH3. Now this is CH2Cl. That means one of the hydrogen atom is replaced by chlorine. That is exactly what is happening here, right? And you are seeing that this definitely it is chlorine in the presence of UV light or in normal light. Okay, just let me drink some water. Just a moment. Right, moving on. What is the IUPAC name of this compound? It's very simple, people, right? Now you must be very, very careful with this. Okay, see, this can be written as like this. Okay, so we all know the first rule of IUPAC naming is you have to identify the longest possible chain. Now, if you tell that this was the longest possible chain, 1, 2, 3, that is only 3 carbon atoms, right? Now, this is absolutely wrong, right? Please understand that the longest possible chain is going to be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. It has to end with this carbon. This is the longest possible chain because I have 4 here, but in this case, I got only 3, right? Okay, I hope everybody is following. This is the correct answer. Now, this would have been the numbering also. Now, to make sure that the bromine, right, the carbon atom containing the bromine is having the lowest possible number. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, this would have been the thing. Now you see that in the first carbon atom I have bromine, so it's 1 bromo. Second carbon atom I have a methyl group, so it is 2 methyl, right? And you see that the total number of carbon atom is 4, so it is butane. Okay, so it is 1 bromo, 2 methyl butane. B is the correct answer to this question. Right, moving on. Para-dichlorobenzene has dash and dash solubility in non-polar solvents than those of ortho and meta isomers. Okay, now para-dichlorobenzene is this. Okay, para-dichlorobenzene is this. Is having more, what is it, dash and dash. Excuse me, right? So dash and dash solubility in non-polar solvents than those of ortho and meta isomers, right? So first things first, we know the para isomer is having more melting point, right? The para isomer is having higher melting point than the ortho and meta isomers, okay, because of its symmetry. Okay, because of its symmetry, right? So definitely A or D can only be answers. Okay, A or D can only be answers. Okay, that means it is having higher melting point than ortho and meta isomers. Now, the next thing I'm talking about is how much solubility, whether it is highly soluble or lesser soluble compared to ortho and meta. Now, please understand, people, for this molecule, mu is 0. Is it not? The dipole moment, basically dipole moment will be pointing towards this side for this carbon, and for this side it will be pointing towards this side for this carbon. Overall, you will see that they're canceling each other. So it is 0. Okay. But if you check for ortho or meta, say if it is ortho, now they will not cancel. Right? They will not cancel. Same way for meta also, they will not cancel. Right? So, but that means what? These are polar. Okay? These are polar. So, and this particular compound becomes non-polar because it is having a net dipole moment of 0. These two, ortho and meta, are not, they are polar because their dipole moments are not cancelling out. Okay, so they're asking about non-polar solvent. Definitely non-polar solvent, this would be more soluble, and the polar, these two are going to be less soluble in non-polar solvents. Right? If this question was about polar solvents, definitely this would have been less soluble. Right? All you have to understand is like dissolves like. And we have already discussed this. Right? Like dissolves like. Polar solute in polar solvent. Non-polar solute in non-polar solvent. Okay. Now they're asking the question in non-polar solvent. So in non-polar solvent, we are talking about ortho. Ortho would be highly soluble. Why? Because it is non-polar and I am talking about a non-polar solvent. Okay, so higher melting point and higher solubility in non-polar solvents. Option D is the correct answer to this question. Okay, next. Chloromethane on treatment of excess of ammonia yields what? Right? See, this you can study in amines, but no problem. CH3, the chloromethane, right? CH3Cl plus ammonia. If you have, basically nucleophilic substitution reaction will happen. Okay, so you will form first CH3NH2, right? And then say 1 more mole of CH3Cl you will have. Again, I can have nucleophilic substitution. So you will form, next one would be CH3NH, CH3. Again, 1 more mole of CH3Cl. Again, I have a lone pair coming here, nucleophilic substitution. So you will have CH3 and CH3, CH3, CH3 three times. Okay, fine. Now, obviously, methanamine is definitely a possibility because you can see CH3NH2, right? N-methyl methanamine, that is CH3NHCH3. Yes, definitely possible. N, N. Dimethylamine, that is NCH3CH3CH3. Yes, that is also possible. So definitely the answer to this question is yes, mixture containing all these in equal proportions. Okay, mixture containing all of them in equal proportions is the answer to this question. Okay, what is the time? Okay, right. Next, assertion reason. Stability of a crystal is reflected in the magnitude of its melting point, it should be. Okay, the stability of the crystal depends upon the strength of the interparticle, interparticle force of attraction. Yes, please understand this. It is correct. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. A is the correct answer to this question. Very simple. Please understand. Stability. If I have high stability, right, but stability does not depend on the interparticle attractive force. Correct. It does. One of the factors we can say. Yeah, so option A should be the correct answer. Right. So please understand, if stability is high, right, definitely the melting point is high. You have to supply a lot of energy for it to melt. Okay, and definitely the melting point or the stability will depend upon the strength of the interparticle force, is it not? Right. So definitely A is the answer to this question. Right. Moving on, network solids are also called as giant molecules. Okay, network solids means basically talking about carbon, graphite, and this thing, diamond. Okay, diamond is soft in nature and conduct electricity. Now you understand, see, these two are correct statements, definitely. I know diamond is soft in nature, it conduct electricity. Network solids are giant molecules only, no doubt about it, right? But that is not the correct explanation. Both these statements are correct, but they don't have any connection at all. So B is the correct answer to this question. Okay, moving on. In monohaloarenes, like basically like for this, monohaloarenes. This is what is monohaloarene. Further electrophilic substitution occurs at ortho and para positions. Yes, definitely. If I have another electrophile coming, it can happen at ortho or para position because this is ortho para directing. Okay, it is ortho para directing, right? Now, why that happens is because of resonance. Okay, why that happens is because of resonance. Now, not because halogen atom is a ring deactivator. No, that is not the correct explanation. But this is the correct statement. Okay, halogen atom is the deactivating group because of its minus I effect. Okay, halogen atom is deactivating because of its minus I effect, but that is not the reason why it is orthopara directing. It is orthopara directing because of resonance effect, right? It is activating, sorry, it is deactivating because of inductive effect, right? So these two are correct, but it is not the correct explanation. So B is the correct answer to this question. Right. Moving on, benzoyl chloride is more reactive than para-chlorotoluene towards aqueous NaOH. Why? What they're asking is, I have benzoyl chloride, okay, C double bond O Cl, right? Now that if I make it react with NaOH, okay, that if I make it react with NaOH, you know what will happen? Basically, hydrolysis will happen. You have not studied these reactions. I don't know why they're asking you, but that's still right. So basically, you would have gotten NaOH. Okay, right? It is, see, please understand, it is not like OH minus is replaced by OH, Cl minus is replaced by OH minus, but even though that's what you're seeing, but that's exactly not what it is. Okay, now I know for sure if I have chlorobenzene and if I do this, this won't happen because I know this will not give nucleophilic substitutions. Right here, it is not a nucleophilic substitution per se, but still you can still call it that way, no problem. Right? Okay, so benzoyl chloride is more reactive than para-chlorotoluenes towards aqueous NaOH. Yes, definitely, because you see here I have the reaction happening. Here nothing happens. Right now, the reason is the CCl bond in benzoyl chloride is more polar than the CCl bond in para-chlorotoluene. No, it is not like that. Okay, it is not because of polarity difference. Okay, and first of all, the statement is also wrong. Okay, fine. The reason is because of something else, right? Why this thing will not undergo nucleophilic substitution? Because it is having a double bond character, right? And an aryl benzene, it will not undergo nucleophilic substitution because it is having double bond character because of reference. That's why, right? So what you have to understand is A is true, but R is false. No, right? A is true. This statement is true, but R is false. Okay, right. What is the time? Okay, we'll just take 2-3 more minutes. Okay, N-butyl bromide has a higher melting point than isobutyl bromide. Right now, because branching of chain makes the molecule more compact and therefore decreases the surface area. Branching increases the surface area. Please understand, branching increases the surface area, right? But what they are telling here, branching decreases surface area. This statement itself is wrong, right? Next, moving on to option A, N-butyl bromide has a higher boiling point than isobutyl bromide. Yes, this is true. And why? Because when branching increases, surface area increases, boiling point decreases. Okay, boiling point decreases. That's why. Right, so isobutyl bromide is more branched than N-butyl bromide. So now that will have a lesser boiling point because of higher branching, and N-butyl bromide will have higher boiling point because of lesser branching. Right, so A is true, but R is false. Right. Okay. Now, alkyl benzene is not prepared by Friedel-Crafts alkylation of benzene. Why? Alkyl benzene is not prepared by Friedel-Crafts alkylation of benzene. This is false. We know it is possible. We know we have something called as Friedel-Crafts alkylation. Right. Now, alkyl halides are less reactive than acyl halides. Okay, this is true, but this has no connection. Okay, definitely option A is false. This we just now saw in the previous question that it is correct. Right. So A is false, R is true. That is the correct statement. That is the correct answer. Right. Fine. Last 5 questions. I think we'll take some time. Right. But we'll solve it in the next class. Okay. We have just 5 more questions remaining. We'll do it in the next class. Okay. Fine. Anybody has any particular questions? I hope everybody is following. Right. Okay. Let me stop sharing. Okay. Fine. I think I'll end the class here, people. Right. We'll meet on, I think, Thursday. I think you have a class at that time we'll meet. Right. Thank you so much. We'll meet again.
Thank you, sir.
We have class tomorrow, I think, sir.
We have class tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think, is for physics or mathematics, not for chemistry, I guess. Anyways, we'll see whatever it is. Tomorrow or day after tomorrow, whatever it is, we'll see. Okay. Right.
Thank you,
Thank you so
sir.
much, people.